Yo, what's going on, dudes? HK Titan here with a brand new video for you guys, and in today's video, we're going to be remastering another map that I found in the map browser. So you guys seem to really like it when I went into the map browser and I found a random map, and I made the map look a little bit better. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, and the map that I found to remaster today is called Spotty Sea, and this map was made by MW1072. So as you guys can see, the map looks pretty interesting and unique. So the only problem with this map is it looks like it could use a little bit of like cleaning up, because I feel like I know what he was going for, but he just it didn't go about it the right way. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be trying to remaster this map and make it look a little bit better. All right, so the first thing we're going to do with this map is we're going to be choosing the green background. So I wanted to choose the green background because we're going to be using a lot of areas for this map, opposed to using the actual normal background, because it looks like that's what he did. And as you guys can see, he ended up taking the sand, and with the sand he ended up dragging the sand across the screen like this, and that's how he got that really straight effect with the sand. So I thought this was a really cool idea where the sand was or the island was half sand, and the other half of the island was half grass. I thought that was a really unique approach, so I wanted to kind of make a remastered version and make his idea come to life a little bit more. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and create the water effects. So the water effects that he had on the map were really interesting because they had really prominent waves to them, and I thought that was a really cool idea. So we'll go ahead and try our best to kind of mimic what he did in his map. All right, so there we go. We have the basic layout of his map. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and add the pathway. So I'm going to go ahead and add the pathway, and I'm going to add the basic structure of his map before I start adding all of my details, and I start adding a little bit of changes to his map. All right, so this is going to be the basic layout of MW1072's map. Man, that's so many words to say it all together, but we managed to get it out. So the first thing I want to do with this pathway is I actually want to take it away from the water just a little bit. And you guys will see why I'm taking it away from the water here in just a second. But I want to create a little bit of space in between the water and the pathway, because I have an idea that I think would look pretty interesting. All right, so we made a little bit of space in between the pathway and the water. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to come over here to the sand area, and I actually want to edit this area. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a pylon in the center here, and then we'll create one right here as well. And then I want to start adding a beach. So by adding a beach, it's going to add a lot of detail to this map that I felt like it was missing, right? So we'll go ahead and extend this beach all the way up here like this, and then we'll start adding this sand along the water edge. And this is immediately going to bring so much life to this map. It's ridiculous. There we go. All right, so it's not perfect, but I think that looks pretty solid, right? So now the next thing I want to do, I want to come over to the other side and I want to do the same exact thing. Now, like I say all the time, and when I'm creating these maps, don't worry too much if there's small imperfections, because I mean, a normal beach isn't going to be perfect, right? So if there's a couple of small imperfections, it's perfectly fine. All right, so now I want to add a little bit more texture to the ridge, because I didn't like the sand that just went straight across the map. So in order to add a little bit of texture, we'll go ahead and add a little bit of a wavy effect, and it'll make it seem like the sand naturally flows into the island, right? So there we go. I want to add a little bit more here, so we'll do this. I think that just adds a bunch of textures instead of just having the island cut in half. All right, so now that we've added that, the next thing we want to do, he has a bunch of different trees. Now, because this is an island map, I'm not going to be using a bunch of different trees. I'm only going to be sticking to pine trees. Now, one thing that really stuck out to me is that he had a palm tree out in the middle of the water over here that I thought looked a little bit weird. He also has another one over here, and he also has two in this middle pond here. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it so it seems a little bit more natural for there to be a palm tree out in the middle of the ocean. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add this little island effect up here, and it'll be a little sandbar that extends out from the water. And I think this will allow us to place a palm tree right here, and it won't look out of place. palm tree in the middle of the water just didn't look right. And then we'll also do the same thing over here as well, because like I was saying, he had another palm tree over here too. There we go. And it's like there's a little canal in between the beachfront and the water line. Now I'm looking at this and it looks good. We're gonna have to add a little bit of detail along this beach to make this beach blend into the water a bit more. So that's something that we need to keep in the back of our mind. Also, we're gonna add like a little sandbar in here as well. And it'll look like this is like low tide, right? Oh, speaking of low tide, if I'm gonna have it be low tide, I might as well, oh no, because if I do that, then it'll like kind of look a little bit bland. I was thinking like this would be like low tide, but if we did like the low tide thing, then we would have to make all of these areas and we'd have to switch them over to sand. That way, it would kind of like make a little bit more sense, right? So if we swapped all of these over to sand, it'll be like this is like a low tide right now. And then when like the water raises, all of these islands would like disappear and the water line would raise all the way up to here, right? But dude, I actually kind of really like that concept. Or we could just have it like the water level of like the lake or the ocean where we're at right now is just a little bit lower than normal. That's another thing that we could do. And I think that's actually what we're gonna do. All right, so I need to swap that back to sand. I thought about it and I kind of like it more if these are like their own separate like islands and there's just like a little canal that goes around them. All right, so now the next thing we want to do, he has like fences over here. I'm probably not going to include those because I really don't know why he would have fences there. He also has like a bunch of like random props in the middle here that I really didn't like either. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and like add like a rock effect up here. And I'm going to like turn this into like a small like mountain on this island because I really like mountains on islands because I think they look really, really cool. Plus it'll make this map a little bit harder too. So the rock that I'm going to use for my mountain is I'm going to use this rock right here. And I'm gonna make it absolutely ginormous. So we'll go ahead, like we'll make the mountain like this. And then I'm also gonna go ahead and copy this. And I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna rotate it and then I'm gonna move it up here like this to add a little bit more detail to the side of the mountain, right? Also, it's gonna take away that green area over there too. And then I need to do the same thing on the other side as well. There we go. And that'll add a little bit of detail to our mountain. Then let's go ahead, we'll add ourselves another mountain over here like this. And like I was saying, this is going to make the map a little bit harder. Like it's not going to make it insanely hard, but it's going to add a lot of obstacles that you're not going to be able to shoot around. And I think that looks pretty solid. I want to add a couple of different shaped rocks as well as a little bit of a different color too. Just like mix things up a bit. There we go. So I need to take this rock. I need to make it a little bit bigger. And these small rocks around the outside will actually add a lot of detail to our map. Or at least it'll add a lot of detail to our mountain too. The only problem is like it doesn't want to like go behind our mountain. That's super weird. All right, so maybe we're not going to be able to get away with like adding this prop. Yeah, that's a little bit weird that I'm not able to do, or I'm not able to like add a intersecting rock here. So I think what I have to do is I have to like grab this rock and then I have to like turn this rock and I'm going to have to like use this as a little bit of an outside edge because like the side of this prop is a little bit weird for some reason, but that's all right because we can make our mountain a little bit bigger. That looks so cool. I love adding these mountains to my map because they really add like a unique aspect. Plus I really like the way that they look. All right, I think that's gonna do it for our mountain feature. Oh dude, I was just thinking about it. What if we made like a little face in the side of this mountain? That would be so cool. Like it would be like a skull island or something like that. So what we can do to add like the skull look to it is we can use this rock here. We can go ahead and tilt it on its side and then back it up a little bit. We need to rotate it a bit like this. Oh dude, I think this is good. I think this is gonna look sick. Oh dude, we're like right on the cusp of like placing this on top of the mountain, so we need to be really, really careful. Okay, so there's that side. Now we need to like rotate it over to the other side. And I think this will look really, really cool. There we go. So we add like a little bit of an eyeball with like this black rock. It looks a little bit weird, but I kind of like the way that it looks. Another thing that we could do is we could actually add a little bit of a cave, right? So it'll be like a cave mouth. So let me go ahead and delete these. Let me see. So what can we do to like make the cave? I think I'd have to like make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, so if I made it a little bit bigger and then I copied this, then I rotated it up like this. I need to turn it a little bit to have like a square front. And then I need to rotate it a bit more like this. Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and we'll grab like that really dark shade. And then we'll have like the dark shade over here like this. I think that's gonna look so cool. And then we'll go ahead and we'll copy this rock and then we'll bring this rock over here. And then we need to like make it look like there's an opening to the cave. But we need this one to go above that rock. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll add the same rock on the other side like this. And then what if I like rotated this a bit? There we go. I think that looks really, really cool. So now it's like a skull island where we have like this. Dude, I'm like looking and this looks a little bit weird. I need to tilt it back a little bit more, I think. Yeah, so I need to like make it like this. So like that white part isn't showing. And then I'm gonna need to rotate this like this. And then I think I need to move this back a little bit. I need to get rid of that small little gray spot right there. Maybe if I just make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And then what I need to do next is I need to add another rock. I'm gonna grab this rock here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to add it over here like this. And I'm going to add another rock over here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just to make it look like a little bit more of a cave entrance. But if I do that, it's gonna look a little bit weird, right? Like the side of this rock should be darker. I think that's where it's like messed up a bit. So I need to tilt this rock. There we go. And then I also need to like tilt this rock too. I think that's where it was looking a little weird. There we go. That made it look so much better. There we go. So it looks a little bit weird, but I kind of like the way that it looks. Like I said I was gonna like remaster this guy's map, but I just turned it into like its own custom map. Oh man, what am I doing, guys? Well, hopefully it ends up looking good. All right, so now that we've done all that and we went a little bit overboard with like our mountain, let's go ahead and grab ourselves a tree. So this tree he had over here. So let me go ahead and rotate this. We'll like tilt it on its side. We'll tilt it like this. And then actually, I think I'm gonna have to add another tree as well, just to make it like look a little bit better. And then we'll come over here. We'll do the same thing. We'll add one tree and then we'll also add a second tree. And then we'll make the second tree a little bit smaller and we'll have like the second tree coming out of the first tree like this. There we go. That looks so cool. And then we're gonna do the same thing down here. We'll have one tree. And I think I'll end up making this like a tree. Oh, man. All right, so let me go ahead and rotate this. And then we need it to like tilt off to the side. There we go. And actually, you know what? I think 2 trees is more than enough. So now's when things are going to get a little bit complicated because now we need to like blend this into our map. So what sort of details can we add here? So the first thing to like add a little bit of detail, let's add ourselves a couple of sunspots over here. And this will add a little bit of detail to the water. Let's also add some up here because up here looks a little bit barren. And then we'll add a couple down here. And this is instantly going to add a little bit of life to our water, which obviously is kind of like it's just kind of lacking in detail when it comes to the water, because right now there's not too many water props that you can use if you're like trying to make an island out in the middle of nowhere, right? All right, so now another thing he has is he has a bunch of like bushes randomly placed all over, and I don't really like the random bushes. So we'll definitely add a bunch of shrubs because you guys know I love me some shrubs, but I just need to find like where would be a good spot for them, right? So I'm thinking about adding a couple along this rock here, as well as I'm thinking about adding a couple of vines too. But if I add a couple of vines, I'm also gonna have to add a couple of trees as well. So actually, let me do that right now. Let me add a couple of trees. I want to add one like right here, and I also want to add one over here too, because just having this like gray mountain, it made it seem a little bit weird. But if we add these trees, it's going to bring a lot of life to the map. It'll add a lot more detail, and I think it'll look really good. And then another thing I'm debating on adding like another one over here as well. Yeah, let's go ahead and add another one over here too, because that actually brings this map together a little bit more. There we go. All right, so now that we've added all of that detail, let's go ahead, let's add some grass. So for the grass, I'll probably just end up adding these stamps. So one thing I think would look really good is, when it's like transferring from the grassy side over to the sandy side, I think if I use this prop, it would look pretty good. Okay, so I have randomize on, but it's like facing the same direction. There we go. But it's facing the wrong direction. Dude, these stamps are gonna make me go crazy. I have not gotten the right direction yet. There we go. We finally got one. So we'll go ahead and place this stamp here like this, and then we'll do this all along where it's like transferring from the island over to the sandy beach. There we go. And that instantly made the grassy area blend into the sand area a little bit better. Now let's go ahead and add ourselves a couple of rocks to add a little bit more detail to the sandy area as well. And then don't worry, I do have a couple more plans to add a little bit more detail down here, because right now it does still look a little bit barren, but we can go ahead and fix that really quick. Also, I need to come back up here to area 1 because I just noticed something down here in the very bottom. It wasn't like perfect. There we go. Cool. So what I want to do down here in the bottom is I actually want to add a couple of rocks. So we'll add like this rock here, just to add a little bit more detail to the sandy part. I think we'll add like this rock. You know what? I think this would actually be a pretty solid spot. So we'll go ahead and place this rock right here, and then we'll place like another one up here next to these rocks. And not only will it add a little bit of detail, but it will also make the map a little bit harder too. Now, because these rocks have like a specific pattern, we really don't need to worry about adding too many rocks around it, because I think that looks pretty good. Just with like the dual rocks. I should probably add one more. That way it's a little bit different than its counterpart. There we go. So let's go ahead and rotate that a bit. There we go. Actually, I want to add it up here. There we go. That looks really good. That looks super good. All right, cool. So now that we've done all that, we need to add ourselves a little bit more detail around these trees, because right now the trees look good, but they could use a little bit more detail around them. Now, one thing I kind of like is I kind of like this darker green, but if I do that, I'm gonna have to create a new stamp layer, and I'm gonna have to move stamp layer 2 above stamp layer 1. There we go. Cool. So we'll go ahead and like position this right here like this, and then actually I'm gonna have to go back to this, and I'm gonna have to add another, darn it, I messed up. All right, so I'm gonna have to make this grass go around this tree. There we go. And I think that looks pretty good. Why can't I erase that? Oh, because it's on stamp layers 2. There we go. All right, so let's go back to stamp layer 2. Let's go ahead and add this like green brush around the trees on the island. And then let's also add it around these ones too. Now, I was thinking about adding shrubs. Well, actually, you know what? I'll probably end up adding shrubs too. Let me go ahead and like move these trees up a little bit. That way it's not like too close to the water. That way I can add this deep green as well. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. I need to make it so the pathway is above the stamp though. So let me go ahead and move this up like this. There we go. So we don't have to worry about like the green being above the pathway. Now, before you say it, I was just thinking about what if I like turn this map and I made it so all of the balloons like exited through the mouth. That would look so cool. But if I did that, then it would be like a completely different map. I'm gonna keep the pathway the way it is, but I'll keep this idea in my head, and then we'll come back and we'll make a different version of this map, and we'll have it do something like have the balloons exit through the mouth. Because I think that's a really solid idea. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit more color to these rocks, and one thing that we can do to add a little bit of color to the rocks is we can actually add vines. The only question is where we should add the vines to where they're gonna look good, right? There we go. And just by adding a couple of vines around the mountain, it instantly brought a little bit more life to our mountain, which is what I was going for. Now, I think I want to add like one more, and I want to add it like right here. And I kind of want like the vines to be like connecting, but I need to make sure like it looks good. So we're paying attention to like multiple different things. So like right now, this vine is in front of this tree, which is something that I don't like. So we're gonna have to like keep that in mind. What if we like raise this up like this? Then it'll be like connecting here in the bottom. Let's also like rotate it back. What if we like rotate it like this? You know what? I kind of like the way that looks. Like this side is a little bit cleaner, and yeah, I think that looks really good. I like the way that looks. All right, so I'm not gonna mess around too much with the island or the rock formation anymore. Like, I still have to add some shrubs to bring a little bit more life to our map, but what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and I want to add a couple of barrels out here. And with these barrels will like come in from like sea. So we'll have like a little bit of like trash along the beach, because I mean, it's a beach. There's gonna be containers that like float up from the water. So I think this will add a little bit more life. And plus, this is actually something that MW10 actually had as part of his map too. So there's a couple of barrels, so let's also grab a couple of boxes too. And then with these boxes, we'll have them like right next to the other stuff. We'll go ahead and make them a little bit smaller, and then we'll tilt it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That adds so much detail to the map just by adding these like small props, because it makes it feel like this is actually a island, and there's like little bits of debris that like float up on the island. All right, now it's time to add a little bit of shrubby boys. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these shrubs around all of the trees and like certain spots around the actual mountain itself. There we go. So I added a couple of shrubs around the tree, and that instantly brought so much detail to our map. It's redonkulous. Now, another thing I want to do is I think it would be really cool if we had like vines hanging over like the opening of this cave. So I was looking at the cave opening, and I thought that would add a lot of detail if I add like a vine going across the top here, and it would like kind of like break this up a bit to like add a little bit more detail and make it seem a little bit less bland. There we go. And that adds a little bit of something extra in front of the cave there. But now that I've done that, I need to add another like vine over here as well, because this spot was looking a little bit barren. But now that we have like these in front of here, it makes a little bit more sense to have a couple more like vines on the outside. So there we go. I think that looks really, really, really good. Now the next thing we want to do, is there any other props that would look good on the beach here? Let's add a couple of these sandbars. Actually, let me go ahead and erase all of these first, because if I'm going to add sandbars, I'm going to need to take out these sunspots. Otherwise, it's going to look a little bit weird. So I actually completely forgot about these sandbars. But we'll add these sandbars around the island, and this is going to like add a little bit more detail in the areas that seem a little bit bland. Now, we don't want to go like too crazy with them, because if we go too crazy, then it's going to seem like overbearing. And that's like the last thing we want to do. Now let's go ahead and re-add the sunspots that we deleted. Man, it's always so satisfying watching like something you're making come to life. All right, and then we'll also add a couple of these starfish too, because I mean, we are on a beach, and this is like a super sandy part, so we'll go ahead and add like a starfish in like different spots. Like they don't have to be right next to the water, because all of this is like a sandy part. There we go, and I think that looks really, really cool. Now, are there anything else, or is there anything else that we could add out here to add a little bit more detail? We could add a couple of like these white things. No, that would be a little bit too much. So I'm not gonna add those. Instead, we can add the crab. So we'll add the crab. Where is it? Let me go ahead and pull up the ocean, and the crab's right here. Perfect. So we'll have like random crabs around the map, and it really doesn't like matter where they are. We'll like rotate them, and it'll just be like a bunch of different crabs around the island, and it'll like kind of take away from the fact that the sand part is a little bit bland. Now, I'd like to add like waves to the sand, but I don't think there's a prop that'll allow me to do that. Like, we do have the stamp, but I can't like tilt the stamp. I can't like add opacity to the stamp, so I don't think it would look as good as I would like it to look. But that's all right. I mean, just adding these crabs instantly added a lot of detail to our map as well. Now, how would these look? That would look a little bit too out there. Actually, you know what? That doesn't look bad. It just looks like seashells, right? So if I had that one there, and then let me come over here. I need to get the right curvature on this. There we go. And then we'll add more over here like this. Yeah, that adds a lot of detail. But if I'm going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and take away those starfish, and I'm going to take away those rocks. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I do want to add, or I do want to make this crab a little bit bigger, and I want to like go through here. And then I want to rotate this one. Let's move it over here. Rotate it like this. And there we go. All right, so let's come back to the props, and let's also add a couple of fish. Now, these fish I'm going to make absolutely massive like they're sharks. And we'll just add a couple of them. Like, we're not going to go crazy with them. But that, again, will add a little bit more detail to our map. So I think I have all of the props placed down. Now, the last thing we're going to have to do is we're going to go ahead and have to add another stamp layer, and we need to make sure that this stamp layer is below the rest of the stamps, like this. Yes. And then we're going to go ahead and start adding shade to our map. So I'll use the big shade for around the mountain, and then now that we have the mountain shaded off, let me go ahead and turn it over to the small shade to put around these trees and around the bushes. And then let me go ahead and swap back to the big one again, and then we'll add a little bit of shade around this like that. There we go. That looks so good. That instantly added so much detail to our map. It's crazy. Also, I almost forgot to add a little bit of shade around these barrels too, like this. There we go. Because I mean, it wouldn't make too much sense for the barrels not to have a little bit of shade. Now, unfortunately, we can't make the shade any smaller, so it's gonna look a little bit weird, but I still think it looks all right. I'm just gonna be taking a last look through of our map. I actually think the pathways are all below, right? Which pathway has all the green? There it is, perfect. So I need stamp layer 3, and then I want to add this grass effect over here as well. I actually think I want to make it go all the way around the island. It'll take a little bit longer, but I think that little bit of detail will really help our map come to life a bit more. Guys, this is so annoying trying to get the right direction facing on this grass. All right, I think that's the last one. Yeah, that instantly added so much more detail to our beach. I'm glad I went through the time to actually place all of this grass down, because by taking the time to place down all of that grass, it instantly added a lot of detail to our beach line, and it makes it seem like the area is a little bit more overgrown, which is something that I really think that this map needed. But other than that, dudes, I think that's gonna do it for the remastered version of Spotty C. I kind of really like the way that this turned out. But please feel free to let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this map. Like, do you guys think this remastered version does justice to the original Spotty C version? So now, of course, the last thing we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to choose some music, and on top of that, we're also gonna have to choose a background effect. So for a background effect, let's go ahead and go with this one right here, because I really like the way that this looks, because it looks like there's like clouds going overhead. And then, of course, the last thing we're gonna have to do is pick a music theme. And the theme that MW10 had as his map is Sails Again. So we're gonna go ahead and use Sails Again as our music. And now, of course, the last thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go ahead and save and exit our map, and then we're going to have to play our map. Now, as always, I will be playing this on easy standard mode because I'd like to see if you guys can actually beat this map for yourself. So in case you guys were wondering, I know I say it all the time, but the reason why I play on easy standard mode is that way you guys can like go through and like beat the map for yourself, and you don't have, and then I'm not like giving you guys the solution for like Chimps mode or anything like that, right? Now this map is going to be a pretty easy map. My objective wasn't to make like an expert map or anything like that. It was just to make a remastered version of a random map that I found in the BTD6 Map browser. So while I'm beating this map, I just want to say thank you guys so much for support on the series, as I always say, because you guys are absolutely crushing it. So of course I want to make sure I say thank you for all the support that you guys show, dropping the likes, dropping the comments, and of course watching the videos in general. That being said, if you guys have any maps that you guys would like to see me create, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And if the idea sounds like something I could do, I'll definitely do it, and then I'll make a video on your idea. And it's about time for the shameless plug. If you guys are still enjoying this series, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, if you guys are new around here, don't forget to subscribe as well, because I do upload a lot of these map creation videos, as well as I do upload quite a bit of Bloons TD6 content in general. And also, make sure you guys hit that notification bell as well. That way you guys don't miss out on any of my future uploads, because like I was saying, I do upload a lot. So here we are on round 37, and I was just like thinking to myself, it would be really cool if a Ninja Kiwi added like a paintbrush effect that we could like paint on top of props, to add a little bit more detail to these props, because I think it would be really cool if I could like go through and add like shade behind all of these vines, because that would add so much detail to our map. It would actually be ridiculous. And I could like add some shade below these eyeballs, and it would just like it would just give our maps a little bit more life. So hopefully that's something that Ninja Kiwi is considering adding in the next update. Or I hope it's something that they're considering adding in a future update in general. But there we have it, dudes. We have officially beaten this map. Then of course the last thing we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to go ahead and name our map. So we're gonna go ahead and call this map Spotty C Remastered. Like so. And there we go. So now that we've named our map, let's go ahead and share a map. So if you guys would like to play this map for yourself, here's the code. But anyways, dudes, that's gonna do it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, again, please feel free to hit that like button, and I'll see you dudes in the next one.